Plus, 1,300 Ethiopians have been expelled by Saudi Arabia. This comes after a deadline for undocumented migrants to leave the oil-rich kingdom voluntarily expired. The ministry's Director General of Diaspora Affairs, Demeke Atinafu, says Ethiopia's government is working with Saudi Arabia to safely return its citizens home. More than 70,000 Ethiopians have returned home since Saudi Arabia issued a decree in March ordering all undocumented migrants to leave. The deadline was later extended to June, but the majority of migrants remained in the Gulf state where they mostly work as domestic workers and on farms. Now, access to justice in any society is critical and fundamental. It's indeed the most basic requirement of any system of justice here in Nigeria. The quality of justice available to litigants or persons seeking any justifiable remedies in our justice delivery system has become an issue of concern. Whether functioning as judicial officers or law officers, including legal practitioners, there's a need for everyone to strive not only to deliver their services in their capacity as judges and lawyers, but to ensure that they remain jurists. Access to justice will not mean just access to lawyers and courts. It's much more broader than this, as it encompasses a recognition that everyone is entitled to the protection of the law and that whatever rights we seek to protect are meaningless unless those rights can be enforced. Well, joining us now is the Deputy Director, Access to Justice, Dr. Adenike Ayedu. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. So let's begin by talking about access to justice and its importance.
Okay, so you've already alluded to the fact that the issue of access to justice is very critical. It's one of the fundamental human rights. Beyond that, if you look at it internationally, globally, within the human rights context, internationally, we've got the ICCPR, we've got the ICESR, we've got the UDHR, we've got even the African Charter, which enshrine the right of access to justice to all, poor or rich, young and old, male or female. And in the context of Nigeria, we've got it within the Constitution as well. And like you said, it's not just a right to be able to get to court. It's a right to get fair and equal access to justice. And this is what we're grappling with in Nigeria at the moment.
Now, talking about what we're grappling with in Nigeria, a lot of people believe that access to justice in Nigeria is a bit difficult. Do you agree with this?
Absolutely.
Why do you agree?
Again, so let's start with statistics. Globally, the issue of access to justice, and around 4 billion people lack access to justice globally. Now, within the context of Nigeria, we have about 70% awaiting trial inmates. That is amongst the highest in the world. So we need to go back to the drawing board and ask ourselves, what is the point of having a justice system that isn't effective? Because in my opinion, it's not effective if the people are not getting justice. And you cannot get justice if it is delayed or denied. And so our role as at Access to Justice is essentially public interest litigation. We take on cases, of people who cannot afford to go to court and whatnot.
We'll get to that. But how effective is the role that lawyers and judges play in making sure that everyone who's seeking redress gets access to justice?
I refrain from saying this, however, they may be the hurdle or the challenge, if you like. In the case of lawyers, essentially, they adjourn cases on and on and on. Judges say this all the time. With regards to judges, it's either they're not sitting today, or they're not sitting on time, or they're on vacation, or they're on retreat, or they're on conference. And the question is, if you have 70% people in custody awaiting trial, how do you go on vacation for 3 months a year? And in addition to that, you go for conferences and retreats, and then you adjourn matters for 4 months or thereabouts. I think our lawyers and our judges need to do more, essentially.
Well, apart from some of the challenges like you just mentioned now, are there other difficulties that are faced in the delivery of justice itself?
The first is finance. You can't do anything without money. So the right to access to justice is a socioeconomic right, meaning you need to be able to afford a lawyer, you need to be able to file court fees and whatnot. How many Nigerians can afford that? And again, we have a lot of law firms that do not do pro bono services. Legal aid is not sufficient. So first of all, you've got the hurdle of, can I get to court? i.e. can I afford justice? Secondly, can I get a fair hearing? A fair hearing entails a judge sitting on time, sitting every single day that they are supposed to sit, and not keeping lawyers waiting or keeping lawyers just perpetually, you know, frustrated, if you like. And so the situation right now is dire, in my opinion.
Yeah, but that's talking about the people who are seeking justice themselves. What about the lawyers and the judges?
What do you mean, what about the lawyers and the
What
judges?
challenges, are there challenges that they face?
We hear about challenges such as funding, but I can say categorically that the budget of the judiciary right now is at 100 billion naira. That is more than it was last year, and more than a lot of countries on the continent. So let's say Kenya, for example, or South Africa, they probably do not have a budget that big, but they have the political will and the commitment to make sure that, you know, they get their jobs done.
Well, many thanks, Deputy Director, Access to Justice, Dr. Adenike Ayedu, for coming on Network.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.